welcome back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show. As we roll on, we've got County Commissioner Day today. County Commissioner Fred Beard is with us in studio. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning.
And on the phone with us is County Commission Chair Stephen Mccutcheon. Stephen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gene. How are you?
Hey, we are rocking along. I've been hearing all this mask mandate stuff going on all over the world and all over New Mexico, and I'm just the other morning I was thinking, do I still even have a mask?
I drove to northern New Mexico a few weeks ago, and I can tell you I did not have one, and it was really difficult to get any services. So.
Yeah, Fred doesn't have his headphones on, so he didn't know you were talking there. Fred, you got to hear. You need to hear Stephen. So, okay. So now, not unlike a commission meeting, we don't allow talking over each other at the same time.
I'm sorry, I didn't have the headphones on. I was wondering why I didn't hear him.
That's okay. Stephen, what did you say again about driving around? And what did you say?
Oh, I came through northern New Mexico a few weeks ago, and I was with my family. We stopped at 4 different places. Finally found a place for the kids to. Finally found a place that would serve us something to eat. It was a terrible trip. I said, I'm never coming back. It was so bad. So
wow.
Stopped at 4 different places. Finally, Church's Chicken. Church's Chicken. We were able to find something to eat, but nobody else would serve us or let us in the store. The kids actually had to pee in one of the parking lots up there because we couldn't even go in to use the bathroom. It was absolutely crazy, and we didn't have a mask. We never even thought about it. The mask mandate was lifted.
Right.
Never even crossed our mind.
Yeah. Well, it's coming back on the private side of things, and so you're seeing universities and businesses and things like that are either mandating it or gently asking or handing them out. Some places were charging for the mask. I'm surprised you didn't come across a entrepreneurial spirit of a northern New Mexico business saying, 5 masks, $5. It's. Could have made a little money on those things. Has anybody ever read the side of the box of the paper masks, the cheap ones that you buy? They kind of tell you they're not really good for anything.
Yeah, the non-surgical use. This is not a medical device. It doesn't prevent anything. But you're talking about that? Yeah. Those are the ones we're supposed to wear so that we can do all that.
And I don't think there's any evidence that shows unequivocally that they are effective, at least 100% effective. I mean, they nibble around the margins. I guess if you sneeze, it reduces the droplet load and some of that. But if you're not wearing the M95 and properly fitted and sealed up, I'm not going to say it's useless, but it doesn't prevent the spread of the virus.
Well, it's coming. So we'll get there. But let me ask you this, both as county commissioners, before we get into the meat of the meeting. I'm sure you're hearing from the health officials. I know the mayor of Carlsbad has put out a statement. I know the superintendent of the schools in Carlsbad has put out a statement of concern over the number of new cases that have been happening across New Mexico in the last couple of weeks, and how Carlsbad and Eddy County has kind of been at the top of the list of new cases. What additional information have you heard, and is there any information that you have learned that you would like to share with the folks so that we're not just sitting here going, oh my gosh, it's cases, we're headed for some kind of disaster down the road?
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Fred.
No, go ahead, Stephen. You can go first.
When you look at the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people that are not the people that are testing positive have typically not had COVID or have not been vaccinated. Now, I'm not saying people they need to go. I'm not telling people they need to go get vaccinated or anything like that. But what I am saying is that if we look at the data, you have about an 88% chance of not getting the virus with a vaccination or with having COVID in the past. And so we're running about, I think, 42% vaccinated in Eddy County. And I think what that is, I think that is an issue of COVID being politicized so much by really both parties, because if we remember, Trump is the one that had Operation Warp Speed and designed the vaccine and put everything into place. And now we have a bunch of quote-unquote Trump supporters, I guess probably in Eddy County, that don't want to get the vaccine because Biden is telling you that you got to get the vaccine, and the governor's telling you got to get the vaccine, and the governor's telling you that you got to wear a mask, and we know that masks aren't effective, and then the kids have to go to school, and then they tell you have to wear a mask even after you've had the vaccine. I think people have just thrown their hands up when we know that the vaccine works. We know that the vaccine will prevent COVID, and if not, even that the people that are testing positive have such mild symptoms of COVID that it doesn't really affect them after they've had the vaccine and they test positive. And so I'm really discouraged about how this has been handled at a state level, how it's been handled at a federal level, and the politicization that's taken effect that has put in people's minds a stigma. No, if you're going to tell me to do something, I want it to be effective. So do I have to wear a mask after I get the vaccine? Well, the answer to that needs to be no. You sure don't. And if you're going to wear a mask, wear it properly. I mean, we have 5-year-olds going to school that are going to be wearing masks. How effective can a 5-year-old wear a mask? Well, they don't wear it. I have a daughter that's 5. She's going to go to kindergarten, and she's going to go put a mask on. And how effective is that going to be? 0, because she's going to drag it down. She's going to drop it on the floor. She's going to take it off to eat. She's going to take it off at nap time or whatever the heck it is. The mask's going to come off for a good portion of the day, but we're just not following the data in all the sense. So I feel like the people in New Mexico, especially the ones in Eddy County, it's probably why we're seeing such a surge in Eddy County, is because we say, no, if you're going to make us do this, then it needs to make sense, and we need to follow science and go, okay, who developed the vaccine? Well, Trump developed the vaccine, and then we had Kamala Harris saying, never going to take it, never going to take it.
Oh yeah, I remember that,
because Trump is the one that developed it. But we can't, so it's been politicized so bad. There's a stigma with the people, and it's the population, the vast population is the loser there because of the politicization that's taken place.
No, you're exactly right. According to the state's own data right now, Eddy County is 41.6% fully vaccinated. But you, Stephen, you brought up something that nobody talks about. Nobody in the media. None of our glorious leaders talk about this, and that is how many people have an immunity because of a prior exposure to the COVID-19 virus, whether it's the Delta variant or whatever other variant that they come across. Those numbers never get talked about. We only talk about the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and we never include the unvaccinated who have already been exposed and have recovered and therefore have built up an immunity based on that. I wish they would. I wish that number would be there, but they don't share that with us. At least they don't share it publicly. Do you guys get to see that kind of a breakdown?
No, we haven't. And the actual variant from somebody who has gotten the vaccine and somebody who has contracted COVID in the past is about 0.5%.
Mm-hmm.
So, these bodies we have are amazing things, and they build up their own immunity. And so those lines, when you show when you show infected people who have either had the vaccine or who have had COVID, they're within 0.5% variant, and it's up or down. I mean, it's within the margin of error. It's almost exactly the same. So
yeah. I'm hopeful that this is a spike that will, that was a result of everybody being released, given their freedom, if you will. The governor granted us our freedom as if it was hers to grant back on July 1. And this is just normal activity. People just living their lives, going out and being a productive economic activity and whatever. And that here within a couple of weeks, the numbers will go back down. I mean, I worry about the people that do get sick, that go in the hospital. I know the hospitals are worried about, having too many patients to have to deal with, plus all the other things that they have to deal with at hospitals. But I really can't imagine that this is going to be with us. This level of activity is going to be continuing on for much longer.
I think at some point it'll wane again, but I go back to something Stephen said. We live in a part of the world, you come in and pronounced government edicts and you have to do this, there's a lot of people who are going to bow up and not do it just because they say I have to. I don't know, maybe that's because we live so close to the free state of Texas. And, you know, our vaccination rate is only 40%. I'd like to see that go up. I believe in them. I think I've mentioned right here before, Stephen and I both have been vaccinating cattle and dogs and horses for all our lives. Vaccinations work. But all of the misinformation out there has scared a lot of people to death, and they're just not going to take it regardless. So,
yeah. No, I understand. But it is interesting to see.
And I'm not saying anybody should make anybody take it. This is a choice.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's kind of like taxation. It's like the government's going to pass a tax, and then the businesses are going to be responsible for collecting the tax and paying it to the state. And then we're not going to mandate vaccines. We're not going to mandate masks. But if you don't, you know. Like I can just see what they're going to do to folks that haven't been vaccinated or don't want to show proof of vaccination. They're going to be hounded to death with testing every day, every week, every month. You know, just to shame people into it. So it's interesting.
Well, and where we're at now is just a point of, you know, with either vaccinations or with masks, we're just to the point of virtue signaling now, and so people will go out and really they're you have people that'll go out and wear masks and do these things so that they can be on their high horse and they can be above other people, and they judge them. And that's what we saw with the schools. You know, the first instructions we got from PEB is they were going to have kids wear a necklace or like a lanyard with the deal saying I've been vaccinated, and then the other kids were going to have to wear masks and say, well, I've not been vaccinated. And we've created such a huge rift in society, and I'm glad they've changed that. And they're saying, okay, whether you've been vaccinated or not, you're going to school over 12 years old, you have to have a mask on. That's a better policy than saying, well, I've been vaccinated and I haven't been vaccinated. Well, there's a lot of reasons that somebody may not get vaccinated, but the problem is that all the same people, and I'm one of them, all the same people that believe in the MMRs, that believe in the Tdaps, that they believe in all of these vaccinations, we're not anti-vaxxers. Because this one has been politicized so much, they won't do it. When really everybody needs to back up, look at the data, because the vaccination will help us stop the spread. The vaccination will help us stop these big spikes and help us get along with our lives. If we remember who created the vaccine, if that's the side you're on, if you say, hey, Trump's my guy, which, you know, I support Trump, he's my guy. So, yeah, if you go back and look, say, hey, Operation Warp Speed that he is the one that developed the vaccine, that may change people's minds. They may say, oh, you know what, maybe this is a good deal. And I hate that it's been politicized. And it should never have been. Health should be a bipartisan issue, and it should never be party politics ever.
You know, it's funny, I was looking online for a picture of Stephen, and the first one that pops up is you're with the governor.
I haven't seen that.
Well, she was in Carlsbad a couple of years ago for one of the oil and gas things, and I'm sure Stephen was there with the, you know, and so but anyway, I thought that was funny. That's the first one that popped up on the search. Maybe I need a different search engine, so I'll try a different one.
Yeah.
What is your background, Stephen? Fred mentioned that you have been in cattle, I guess. But what's your background, if you don't mind sharing with us?
So grew up in Eddy County, kind of between Carlsbad and Artesia, on a ranch there, and I actually worked for Fred quite a bit delivering ice when I was younger. That was my first job. So I mucked ice with Fred for several summers, and went to school, went on a mission for my church, got an ag business degree, and got back, and then started a construction company. So we have a construction company, and then we ranch as well. We've expanded ranching operations and do a few things like that. So construction and ranching
which is a pretty good background for this part of New Mexico, I would think. So
it's a good fit.
Well, fit in well.
That's right. Well, let's go ahead and turn to the meeting yesterday. And who wants to begin with an item from the county commission meeting? Fred, do you want to start
We
us
can
off?
both kind of chime in on this. We started with a public hearing on the lodger's tax, expanding the lodger's tax for outside the city limits. There was a lot of discussion on it. There was a lot of opposition to it. Although we didn't vote it down, we tabled it till some things were cleared up. I know Stephen had some concerns about where the money was going, how it was going to be obligated. So did John Henry. To me, there's a word in this Eddy County Lodger's tax that takes it off the plate for me, and that's tax. I was going to say I ran on taxes, but you kind of cornered me on that once upon a time, so
I don't
ran against taxes.
Call it corner, but
Well, no, but yeah, it's a tax, and I'm not going to support a tax. It's
because right now the cities have lodger's tax that's added to their gross receipts percentage, or it's a part of the gross receipts tax that's paid within the city, right?
Yes.
Okay, there isn't one for the county.
Well, I guess the state legislature opened up the ability for the county and the city to expand their lodger's tax to 30 days plus. It's already in effect for less than 30 days, but if you're in a motel room or an RV park, after 30 days, then it drops. You don't have to pay it anymore. So what this does is it extends it in perpetuity until you can prove that you are a legal resident, driver's license, plates on your car, what have you.
Okay.
But still, it's an expanded tax for somebody else. Somebody's got to do the paperwork. Somebody's got to collect it. There's really not much other than an honor system to collect it right now. So I don't see it being worth the effort. And it's still an expanded tax. So.
All right. Stephen, do you have some thoughts on this after the hearing that was held yesterday?
You know, the city of Carlsbad was really pushing for this lodger's tax, and I see the need. I see the need for them. You know, with all the hotels, and you know, once you get past that 30-day period, they'd lose that lodger's tax. So when the ordinance was developed, no one ever imagined that Halliburton would come in and block out half of a hotel for 6 months. And so that was never imagined. I can see the cities, whether it be Artesia or Carlsbad. I don't know if Artesia's adopted it or not, but I know that Carlsbad has. And so they never envisioned the ordinance being like that. So opening it up for them and those specific, you know, the man camps that, you know, because those guys are a strain on emergency services. You know, fire's got some funding, but the sheriff, you know, and the jail, things like that. You know, when we have an added population that's not, you know, it's not paying. I see the reason behind it. My biggest hang up for the county is that we have I think it's 48 beds. We have one 48-bed hotel or man camp, whatever you want to call it, and the rest are RV parks. And so it's easy, I believe, for a hotel proprietor to pass that tax along. You know, whenever we go stay at a hotel, you plan on paying lodger's tax, and you know your room's $89 and your lodger's tax is $4, and yada yada yada. It goes down the line, and your room costs you $100 or whatever it is. But in Eddy County, speaking specifically for the county, we have many RV parks, and the RV park proprietor is going to be the one that pays that tax. That's one of my hang-ups, is that, you know, the RV spot is $600 a month, and it's going to cost $25 for this spot. And the RV park really, the proprietor really has no way to pass that along to the customer. Yeah, he can add a charge on there, but that's not industry standard. And so what happens is the proprietor ends up paying for that. The other thing is what Fred mentioned, is that it is it'll be really difficult and to prove that somebody doesn't owe that tax. So putting the burden of proof back on the RV park proprietor is really, really difficult. And let's just say, you know, we've got good people in the county, you know, and we're not going through audits or anything like that. It's on the honor system. But let's say we get somebody down the road that wants to enforce this and wants to and wants to do it, through audits and things like that. The way it's written is they have to have all of this proof for people in the past who live there, who don't live there, more than just a questionnaire. And that's one of my other issues with it is how much burden of proof are we going to put on the proprietor of the RV park? That's the issue there.
I'm probably going to make somebody mad or raise an issue that I probably shouldn't, but the county could hire a company to come in and do an audit with the goal of picking up some of that lost revenue that might not be out there. Now, you might pick up enough revenue to cover the cost of the firm to come in and do the.
And you might not.
And you might not. Am I poking something? I should keep my mouth shut. I know you guys that weren't on the commission when that was approved. I know that.
Yeah.
We're still working on that one there. So I don't know if we want to comment on that one.
No, I'll tongue in cheek on that. But it is interesting. So the hotel people probably have the mechanism already in place because they're already collecting it now. What you're talking about is a whole nother group of people that prior to this have not had to deal with the lodger's tax question. And I can see if all of a sudden you now say it's $600 plus tax, some people are going to do that and some aren't, and it's going to be kind of a pain for people to figure that out.
Well, I live in the county, and not necessarily for the reason I'm going to mention, but a lot of people live in the county because they don't want to play by all the city rules to start with.
Sure.
It's back to that freedom issue. They want to do their own thing out there, and then here we come chipping away bit by bit. You got to do this, and you got to do that. And,
So you said, I believe you said it had been tabled. What are some of the questions that you're trying to get clarification on from the folks that are proponents of this? What do you hope to get clarified?
The process.
The process. Okay, just what we talked about.
And where does the money go?
Now that is left open to the county, isn't it, or to the cities as to what they do with that money? That it's not like currently lodger's tax money that's collected goes into tourism, basically.
They kind of left that open-ended, if I'm understanding it right. Is that right, Stephen?
Yes. So the prior lodger's tax has to be used for advertisement, just like our new awesome signs that we have at the entrance of the county. Those are paid for by lodger's tax.
Right.
And so when you come in and see, Eddy County thriving on industry, honoring God, family, country, and thriving on industry since 1889, or whatever it is. You see those. That's the lodger's tax deal. So that goes into a specific pool. But what was done, and Jerry did a great job on getting that done in Santa Fe. Jerry Fanning, he did a great job getting that done and being able to turn that and say, okay, you can take this extended lodger's tax because of those. Because you have more of a permanent citizen. These aren't tourists that you're actually taxing. You're actually taxing people that live in the county. You can take that and now apply it to emergency services. And Commissioner Henry's been abundantly clear. He says he said I could maybe get on board with this thing. He said, but it would have to go to, say, sheriff and detention. He said, period. That's the only place that it can go. And I agree with him 100%. If I was ever to get on board, that's where it would have to go, because that is what we are trying to fund. Trying to take the burden off of the local taxpayers and put it on the people who haven't. I don't know. You can't really say they're not contributing, because they are. But
right.
more of the temporary population and tax in for some of those services. So the ordinance is open and you can apply that wherever. But Eddy County would be specific. Eddy County is not going to let that go to general fund money to buy printers for the road department. They're not going to do it. And what it's going to do is going to be earmarked specifically for, whether it's fire, sheriff, or detention.
Mm-hmm. And that
so
might
we've got the latitude to do it.
Sure, and that might get a few more people on board who wouldn't be if it was specifically targeted for that. But then again, you got to go back and say, okay, Mr. RV Park person or Miss RV Park person, now you've got to start tabulating. And it sounds like, if I heard you correctly, it's kind of like a Bill Clinton tax increase. It's retroactive back. Record keeping has to go back.
I don't know about that.
Well, it's not going to record keeping. you're going to have to start keeping records, right? So let's just say, arbitrarily we pass it and it goes in, we pass it to go into effect January 1 of 2022. Right then, you're going to have to start keeping your records. But let's say you're audited in 2024 for 2022, and you go, okay, you only reported 5 people that qualified for this lodger's tax in 2022. Well, we need proof of those people. And you go, well, I have this questionnaire they filled out. And they go, no. You need more proof than that to show that they were less, that they were more permanent citizens and less temporary citizens. So we need, we need some pay stubs, or we need addresses, or we need things like that. There's latitude to go in there and do that. And that's really what I have.
Yeah, that
that's
would
really
be
what I have a problem with. This puts a huge burden on the owner of the RV park.
It's interesting. I was talking to an RVer the other day. They travel around the country, or at least they used to. It sounds like the prices to stay in an RV park in some places in the country is getting up there where it's almost expensive as a brick and mortar hotel to stay in some of these RV parks. And that is an interesting development that has happened over the last year and a half or so. I don't know how much of it is driven by COVID or how much of it's supply and demand. I'm assuming it's supply and demand. People are not wanting to necessarily stay in a hotel. They're going out, they're buying an RV, they're going to stay in an RV park. And if there's more people wanting to stay in an RV park than there are spaces available for them, economics say, well, then the price is going to go up accordingly on that. I don't know if that's an issue here, because here I think it's driven more by the workforce in the oil field as opposed to the tourist people, or the people living the RV lifestyle.
Yeah. Down in my part of the world by White City, I don't know whether they're full, but I'm seeing more and more people just finding a spot on BLM land somewhere and spending a night or two.
Oh, well, it's public land.
Yeah, it's public land. Yeah, it works. And, it used to make me a little nervous, but I've been kind of watching them. And unlike most places, I haven't had to pick up trash anywhere yet. At least for now, the people that are doing this are cleaning up after themselves. So it is public land, so they're welcome. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to
until they start. I'll have to start picking up after them. Then my attitude will change. Yeah.
I understand that. We need to take a quick break. Can you guys stick around for another segment?
Sure.
All right, great. Stephen Mccutcheon, the chairman of the Eddy County Commission, is with us. Fred Beard, County Commissioner. We'll take a break and be back with more on the other side. Don't go away.